Welcome to this episode of My Ramblings. And damn, I'm gonna quit smoking. I'm trying to quit smoking, and the habit of smoking. One of the biggest reasons people have trouble quitting is, as they taught us in high school or junior high, um, about drug addiction and what have you, is that cigarettes fall into sort of their own category, because there is the nicotine issue, but it's habit forming. And that means that, part of good thing I never got on drugs. I mean, if I have trouble quitting smoking because of the habit, now I quit. I smoked in when I was like 19 or 20, and I quit for some reason. I started smoking about 5, 6 years ago, but I'm gonna quit within the next 3 weeks. So, but so excuse the cigarette, please. Um, so underlying reasons for stuff uh, uh, that falls cigarette smoking actually falls neatly into, because one of the reasons people continue to smoke is the habit forming nature of smoking cigarettes. um, I remember when I quit, when I was 19 or 20. I found myself doing this sometimes. It was a habit of pulling a cigarette, up to my mouth. So we're going to transition into specifications. I was a cooperative education student, a program within that fact. Um, I think some of the co-ops, CONREPs, which is the Navy classification, it stands for construction representatives. Those guys were the inspectors. Um, so I think there was some CONREPs that would um, tell me how the contractors don't like the specifications. There are contractors telling me they don't like the specifications. They're just long, complicated. And there was other people that would tell me, and I'm thinking, you know, um, I think some of the Conreps thought I was an intern, and that I had already graduated. Um, I was working on my EIT, I think, at the time, which basically is something that you can get before you graduate. You have to have so many college credits and stuff. And there's no experience based thing. It's sort of a prelude to the professional engineering examination. Um, so one of the things, they gave me 4 or 5 projects to um, to manage, and so you get, the contract, not the entire contract package when they come to you to administer them. Contracting officer, contracting um, specialist gets, the more of the contract business based documents of it. But we do have a boilerplate, and we have, all the specifications for all the various sections, and the set of drawings that go with it. And I found that, you have to read these specifications to understand what the hell, the requirements for the project are. Over time, what you eventually learn is that, there's a lot of information in there. There's a lot of information that the contractor doesn't need, but there's a lot of information that, if you don't have those, there's no way for you to know what the project is. I mean, if you're building the same thing over and over and over, you know, maybe you get some mental memory about what all this stuff is. But these are 4 different projects, 4 different things that need to be accomplished. It's a contract, so you can't leave stuff out like, you know, you have to submit a submittal. If you left it out, then how does the government, you know, um, administer the contract? How does it know what submittals are supposed to be submitted? And this was going to come at the end of this video, but over time, you get it, you graduate, you leave the cooperative education program, become a permanent employee. They offer it to you and you accept it. Um, and it's one of the nice things about the program, by investing my time in being employed there, and them investing the time, effort, and expense of bringing in um, college students is that, you can be non-competitively promoted out of the cooperative education program into an engineering position. Still going to be at a low engineering level because you just graduated from college. Um, you don't have the experience to go into a higher position. But I had the Engineering Honor Society that I had um, qualified for and applied for and got. I want to say elected. That's just the term they use. Most people don't really understand what that means. It means that they vote whether, okay, does he have the teacher recommendations? Does does his application represent the things that meet the qualifying criteria for that particular engineering honor society? And Tau Beta Pi is, you have to have strong academics, you have to have strong recommendations, but they also like to see that you're involved in community activities as well. And um, so um, I got elected, which means that my application went through and it met their criteria. So I was voted and accepted as a member of the Tau Beta Pi Engineering Honor Society. So I would have started if I hadn't already gone up to 7 as a GS miscellaneous engineering series. Um, uh, that would have allowed me to start as a GS 857 rather than a GS 855. So I mean, I'll get me a a pay grade higher. It would have. It's not like I don't want this to come off like I'm bragging. It's just, hey, you know, it was, nice to be able to kind of get rewarded for working so hard on my degree and stuff. And, you know, and having the results show up in my grades, and then being in the Engineering Honor Society. It was just a nice thing for me. Not nearly as nice as finally graduating, but oh God, the burden that I felt just lift off my shoulders, in the weeks following after I graduated. God, glad I got that behind me, but man, I'm glad I accomplished that. So anyway, I digress, but so as I went from the cooperative education program and then into a permanent position, and then I applied for the Professional Developmental Center program of NAPEC, which is just basically it's an internship. It doesn't have the same requirements that the co-op does, and what the Navy does, like this, they have these rotational internships all throughout industry. They give you experience working in the various departments and stuff, and then it helps them to decide where they want to place you, and it helps you to decide, what specific area or something you might want to work in. So I went through all of that, learned, a lot of stuff about the specs while on the internship, all, the nitty gritty about with regard to, switching stations and substations. But what I was getting at is, you know, there's a lot to read there. And so although I wasn't the inspector when I was in the cooperative education program, I wasn't sure. I had no real context for most of this stuff. So I'd go out and I'd see what the contractors were doing and, you know, try to, try to understand what the specification was trying to say. Um, but, um, I think that goes into some rambles that I'll discuss somewhere down the road. But what you kind of learn, particularly for me as a co-op education student, um, and as you advance throughout your career, you gain experience and stuff. The specifications serve a lot of purposes. Um, they let the contractor or the construction contract administrator know what stuff was intended to be inspected. The Navy has a quality assurance program. Contractor contracts out an independent organization to do most of the inspections, and our conreps would monitor the quality assurance program. And there would be pertinent things, particular things that the government wanted to do the inspection on itself. There's, you know, unless you're like, a mainframe computer, you can't remember all that stuff about every single individual project. They all have different requirements and stuff. And so part of the reason that the specifications are written the way they are is so that government personnel know what needs to be inspected, as well as the contractor knowing as well, so that government personnel know what submittals are expected, and contractor needs to know what submittals he has to submit. And this isn't a permitting process. Boy, if I got to ramble about that. Um, this is a means for the contractor to know what his contract requirements are, what he bid on, so he knows what to bid, so he knows what to account for. You can't bid on something if he doesn't know what the requirements are. And the government can't do its checks and stuff, which it needs to do. I mean, I think some people think, okay, hey, let's tell the contractor to build a building, okay. And then they think that they're helping everybody out, but then, a contractor has to figure out what kind of building he wants to build, and those guys don't realize basically what they're saying is, okay, let's sit back and see what kind of building we get. They don't stop to think of all the time and effort that went in to develop, what the requirements are, how many chairs they need, and how much space they need. It's part of the process of the government verifying that it's getting what it paid for. I don't know how much of that they do in private industry. I didn't do any of that in private industry when I left the civil service. But if you look at it, nothing other than it's still taxpayer money. It's money allocated to the military. The military still has to account for it, even internally, if nothing else. Uh, and so how do you know you're getting what you ask for? Do you leave it to chance? Most of the contractors, they're quality organizations, but still, their interest is in getting it built so that they can go on to the next project. The government's interest is in getting it built so that they can occupy the facility for its intended purpose. But I didn't write the rules. I didn't say, hey, I think now that I'm a college student working in a military construction office that I'm going to decide that the Navy has to look after its interests, and therefore, let me impose all these submittal requirements. Well, that what was handed to me, that this is what they're required to do. So anyway, so we'll get into more in specs because I don't like having videos that are more than 10 minutes long. So specifications and underlying intent of various things.